If you're looking to protect yourself from the coronavirus by making your very own face mask and one that can provide an N95 level of protection, well, you've come to the right place. Hi, Dave from Informed American here, showing you making 3 different kinds of masks, and yes, the one that can provide that high level, that sought after N95 level of protection. We're going to start with one with a tablecloth. We're going to make one out of a t-shirt and, maybe my favorite, one out of pantyhose. And all you need for materials are a couple of hair ties, measuring tape, and a pair of scissors. Let's get right to it.
Let's start with our cloth napkin. Now, there's a lot of different versions of this going around, and some of them are really complicated like that. You know, you fold it there, and then you flip it, and then you gotta take it and fold it again, and maybe you gotta flip it around again, and it's just like, I don't know what's going on here. So just forget this version, it's too complicated. Alright, so instead of making all these complicated folds and flipping it around and trying to keep track of everything, just take the cloth napkin and fold it into thirds. Then, take your 2 hair ties, put it each one about a third of the way across, fold the ends in after straightening it out a little bit, and now it is ready to put on, and the hair ties go right over your ears. And now for the t-shirt mask. Take any old t-shirt, cotton blend would be ideal here. Spread it out, we're going to cut along the bottom and get a tape measure to measure about 5 inches up from the bottom, and then we're going to make a spot about 3 inches inside. You can see what I'm roughly tracing out here. Get any kind of a magic marker or whatever just to mark your spots. Don't have to be too careful here, and you're not going to, these cuts are not going to be super accurate, but they will get the job done. Also want to cut out this little bit here, so now we have one big piece. Also notice that we have this bit of a flap here. That's it we made, and that's going to come in handy later. Now, once we have our t-shirt, we want to make some straps so that we can tie this thing to our face. So we're going to go about 1 inch all the way up, and see where I laid that flap there up in the middle. Bring that material all the way up to that flap, and you just want to cut, again, about 1 inch inside. That way to give yourself enough room. Of course, this is t-shirt material, so you don't want to make it too thin because it could end up ripping and tearing. Now repeat the same thing on the other side, and now you have 4 straps. This thing is just about ready to go. We've got our flap here to insert our media if we so desire, or it just gives us a double layer of protection. Now it's time for the pantyhose, and it depends what you have on hand or what you can find at the store. If you're out buying one, you may want to use the legs, but in this case, this pair, those were just going to be way too tight. So instead, I'm cutting out, I guess, the seat or the top here, cutting out through the legs to make our mask. Now I'm not going to measure here, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our t-shirt as a bit of a template. So use that height of the t-shirt with the flap and use that as a guide. Again, I'm making a couple of marks here, and it's just about getting these scissors through this pantyhose. And these are a nice pair of shears, but it's taking a little bit of time. And it's just a matter of getting the scissors through these pantyhose to make your mask. Alright, so we take our pantyhose, we lay it out flat here, and this is really, really simple. As simple as it gets. Just fold it, roll it up in half. Roll that thing up in half, and there you go. The mask is done. Now we're looking for something that can provide an N95 level of protection, something equal to it that can filter out 95% of the stuff in the air, including the coronavirus. Now you could do this with a HEPA filter, either through a vacuum cleaner bag or some sort of filtration system you have at your home, but in this case, we can do this right from our home AC filter. Now to get that N95 level of protection, you're going to need a filter with a MERV rating, that's a minimum efficiency reporting value rating of at least 13. Now go ahead and break up all that outside structure so that you're just left with the filter itself. The MERV rating of the filter you have will determine how much material you will need for each mask. Now if you have a MERV 13 level filter like I have, it will require 4 layers. If you have a rating of 14 or 15, it will require just 2 layers. And if you have a MERV 16 filter, you only need 1 layer per mask. Now in order to figure out what size we need to cut out of our filter, I'm going to use my t-shirt mask as a guide. And what we kind of got left with was about two 5" by 5" squares. And you want to fit that filter in one of those squares so you could flap the other part over. Now we don't want to go the full 5 inches. We want to give ourselves a little bit of room so it doesn't get too scrunched and fall out of our mask. So we're just going to cut this thing about 4 inches. Go ahead and take your filter, lay it out flat the best you can. This thing is rumpled and wrinkled. Now I made a pre-cut there of 4 inches high. So since I have a MERV 13 filter and I need 4 layers, so I've got 5 inches wide, to multiply that by 4, I'm just gonna make a cut of 20 inches long. Now of course, if you make a different version of the t-shirt, you have a different size, just make your calculations accordingly. Mark out my 20 inches, cut there, and then you bring this accordion together and just snip it off, and there you go. Okay, now that we have cut our filter, let's lay out our t-shirt mask. We've got 4 layers of our material here. Lay that flap over, and this thing is ready to go. This N95 equivalent mask made out of a t-shirt is done. All you gotta do is tie it around your head. You take this same piece, works just as well with our pantyhose since we made everything roughly equivalent in all of our measurements, and this thing just slips right in. You don't even have to tie it. Works really well. You just put it right over your head. And of course, this method also works with the napkin. That is, if you can get something better than these little hair ties that I had to put over my ears. Now, if for some reason you cannot get a hold of a high MERV rating AC filter or a HEPA filter, there are some other things you can do to give yourself an extra layer of protection, which will help. You can do a coffee filter. You can do a couple of pieces of a paper towel. I've heard some people using cotton balls. Or if you don't have cotton balls, you can maybe use a tampon. Whatever works. Anything to give you an extra barrier of protection. There are tons of how-to videos out there that tell you to either glue your mask together, or maybe you could even take that filter, glue it to the inside of your mask, something like that. Or maybe you get some needle and thread or some twine or whatever. And I say no to all of that. And here's why. Researchers have found that you can sterilize an N95 mask by putting it in the oven at 159 degrees for 30 minutes. Now we don't have N95 masks here, but we're using a similar kind of material and the heat will kill the virus just the same. Now your oven may not go down to 159 degrees, mine doesn't, but we can do the same thing by setting our oven to 170 degrees. Take your filter and put it in the oven. In this case, I'm using a wooden cutting board so that the hot metal doesn't scorch the filter. Set the oven for 170 degrees for 30 minutes. The filter is now sterilized and ready for reuse. Now, if you don't want to sterilize your insert, you need to throw it out. But the good news is you don't have to throw out your other materials. Simply toss your t-shirt, your cloth napkin, or your pantyhose in the washing machine, which will kill the virus.
I hope this video was informative and gave you the tools to make your own face mask at home. We did 3 different kinds. We walked through all the different steps on how to make them and to even provide yourself with that N95 level of protection. If you enjoyed this, please hit the like button and subscribe. I really appreciate it. If you've got a comment below, maybe you've got some other tips that you can share to others. This is a really important time for us to protect ourselves from this coronavirus. Thanks so much for watching.